what is the B in LGBT? What is the T in LGBT? Should the center just be called Lesbian and Gay Center? Well, originally this blog, it was going to be a roundtable discussion with a group of bi women to, give me their insight within, the queer community and how they are treated or mistreated. But only one showed up, Robin, who's really, really cool, by the way. She had a lot of funny stories to share and a lot of interesting insight. And then I made my way over to Danielle, who is a worker here at the center, to ask, where are the activities for, bisexuals? And then we got into, transgenders. And then we got into, LGBT, where's the Q? Where's the I? Do you think the center needs to be renamed? Or do you think the center should be able to reach out to the other members of the community? Because that seems to be the problem, that the center tends to lack in outreach. Or maybe people in the community don't know about the activities here in the center and in the greater San Francisco area. So no worries, LickYourGender has your back, and we have a lot of interesting links for the community to check out, and hopefully you will, and hopefully you'll make some new friends and have some fun. Okay.
So as I was saying, one of the challenges of being bi is that it's really not possible to be monogamous. And in the relationship I'm in now, I started out that relationship being really upfront about it. I'm not monogamous. I don't believe in monogamy. And part of that comes from my just kind of social political belief that monogamy is basically designed to oppress women. So then you have to kind of find your way to how do you do that, because we're all taught to be very possessive and very jealous, and it's very hard to unteach that. So we kind of came up with the rule that you can have sex with a man, but you can't have a friendship with them. So in other words, just because you slept with somebody, they can't come home for dinner with you. I realized I was interested in women, and I went out dancing at a lesbian dance party, and I met this woman, and we were making out, and then the next day I called her and I explained, I'm married, and she went ballistic. She laid me out, told me that that was not okay, that you need to disclose those things first, and I was really confused. And her explanation was, one, if you're bi, you're less likely to be looking for a relationship, and so somebody needs to know that up front before they get involved with you. And two, her belief was that it was not as safe to have sex with someone who was bi because they were out in the male community, and it was more likely you could get AIDS. So with that information in mind, I was much more careful. In the future, and I want to learn a little bit more. I feel like I need to understand there's rules to this community. I need to understand what they are. So I saw on Craigslist a bi potluck, and I went to this potluck and met these women. One of my good friends now, Nia. And the funny thing about Nia and I was, I had never actually had a sexual relationship with a woman, but I considered myself bi. And Nia had never had a sexual relationship with a man, but she considered herself bi. We just felt like we knew these things, and we vowed that we were going to help each other out to actually, explore the other side of it. And I have to say that Nia did introduce me to an event at the Center for Sex and Culture, in which I met someone and had my first sexual experience with a woman. So, and after that, I learned a lot about the rules of the community, and I was definitely very clear about disclosing that I was bi. And interestingly enough, now I'm in a relationship with a woman, and we knew each other for almost 2 years before we actually got together, because she knew I was married, and her friends kept saying, don't, get involved with her, it's all bad, and, these bi women, they just want to fuck you and leave you, and the opposite actually happened. I actually left him and moved in with her. I will share a story with you of an experience I had with a transgender man. So we met, and he was dressed as a woman, and I was very attracted to him, and actually we were making out, and we all went out with a group of friends to a strip club. And then it was the end of the evening, he was like, I need to go home, I've got to go. And I said, don't worry, I'll give you a ride to BART. And he was explaining to me on the car on the way down that he has 2 kids, and he had a babysitter, and he had to get home before his babysitter needed to leave. And as he's telling me this, he's in the back seat of my car changing. And he was also sharing with me his, view of sexuality and the relationships he had, and that he's very, very attracted to women, which made sense that, we were having this experience together. But the funny thing was, by the time I got to the BART station and I turned around and looked at my back seat, he had changed into a man, and I was completely not attracted to him. And I was fascinated by that. I was so attracted to him when he was dressed as a woman, and then the second I see him as a guy, it's just a completely different person to me. So it's, and I had a similar experience recently with someone who I'd known dressed as a woman, and then this particular evening he hurt his back and he couldn't put on his heels and his corsets. He was dressed as a man, and what was really interesting was his sexual energy was completely different. He was not the same person. He really found it difficult to engage dressed as Steve versus being dressed as Stacy. And I was really fascinated because to me, he was actually equally attractive as Stacy and as Steve. But he just couldn't be Steve, He was so uncomfortable with Steve. So I'm fascinated by how complex gender and sexuality can be with people.
Why the transgender community doesn't come to the LGBT community center. And I've asked a few of the girls, and they said it's because they feel disrespected here. Myself, when they ask me that question, I say it's because they don't know that they can utilize the center, even though there's that T up there. What we need to do is to outreach, let them know that they can use the center. It's for them as well. It's like for the bisexuals, it's for them. And I don't know if they really know that they can come here. Yeah, and that's.
So you think people think it's just exclusive for lesbians and gays, and that's it?
It's not that they think it's just for them gays. They just don't know that they can come. I mean, we need to outreach to these communities, the bisexuals, the transgenders. We need to outreach to them. Say, hey, this center is LGBT. It's for all of us. It's the whole umbrella.
What do you think about adding the Q to the LGBTQ?
To add it to the title of it, for it, the title.
Questioning, some people just prefer to be called queer.
Well, then you also got to remember there's also the intersex.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are we gonna add the I too?
I mean, we can go down A, B, C, D, all the way to SQRT. And we don't even discriminate about letting gays, straights coming in here. We don't want them standing out there, gays unfair to straights. So we don't discriminate against them either. So I think the problem is that we don't outreach. Okay, we have it word of mouth and hoping that that's going to be enough, and it's not. Okay, that's my consideration about it. We need to outreach to all the communities.